Welcome to memoQ Talks, where we talk to industry leaders about their experiences, lessons learned, and what works best across all areas of localization. Now here's your host.
Hi, Rutsuko. Hey, Dylan. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you for having me.
G'day. Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Rutsuko are in the same general area, in the Seattle Bellevue area, and we've got massive snow. For us, massive snow. You're down in Australia. What's the temperature in Celsius or Fahrenheit? I don't care.
We've had steady, let's say, between 31 and 35 degree days. It's stinking hot. It's so hot. In fact, I'm thinking of a new startup idea, like a refrigerator to attach to your shower head so you can have a cold shower. Because right now, having a cold shower, it's still coming out warm.
Well, it's funny because Japan, I lived in Japan for 5 years, and Japan in the summertime can be incredibly hot and humid. And one of my favorite devices or utilities was this thing that would go around my neck and have two fans, small fans about this big, that would blow air right in my face, man. It was a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because there's a lot of articles and posts and books and things about business productivity and personal productivity, but it tends to, most of the content tends to relate to different technologies, different tools, different apps, and or management techniques, etc. But I want to kind of take a look at how you guys use physical fitness and exercise as part of your daily routine to enhance your productivity and or resilience while you're working. And so this is like the first time we've talked about this on the memoQ Talks podcast. But before we jump into that, just so our listenership and viewership have an understanding of the context that you come from, maybe you can just talk a little bit about your background in Loc, because you are very much in the Loc industry, and you can identify with the different roles like translators, project managers, sales, and understand the stress of those kind of roles. So let's start with that. Rutsuko, I mean, you've been in the industry for quite a few years. Maybe you can talk about a couple of the different roles that you've worked on in the past and what you're doing right now.
Sure. Thank you, Mark. Yes. So I am originally from Japan. I decided to get into localization right after college, university, graduated here. My first job was as a translator and a linguist for Nintendo Pokemon department. Okay. So that's where I started. That was in Redmond, Washington. And then, Pokemon became independent and become Pokemon International Company, which is in Bellevue, Washington. And I quickly became a project coordinator / project management. And then, after that, I moved to the B-Dash, working for Microsoft as a localization project manager. And, since then, I moved around, and now I am at the Scientific as a senior director for business development. And so I've been in localization for 25 years now. So
that's awesome. And I mean, when you work in a variety of roles like that, you can understand the different strains and stresses on your body and on your constitution. Like if you think about project managers in the Loc industry, for me, that's like one of the most important, but also one of the most stressful jobs because you've got so many different people that you're trying to take care of. And so that's very helpful for our conversation. Dylan, give us your elevator pitch for your experience in Loc.
So I was one of those funny expats. My family moved to northern Thailand when I was 15. I grew up there, learnt the language, became a Thai to English translator, and never planned to return to Australia. But global geopolitics at play. There was a coup d'etat in Thailand, and I had to return to Australia for a massive mining translation project. I came back here. And became certified. So a certified translator, the kind of translator who's needed to translate birth certificates and driver's licenses, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden I discovered the pain of having to deal with individual clients who want a single document translation done. And while trying to handle a massive workload of, let's say, over 100,000 word a month, translation, it was costing me a lot more time than I was charging the customer. So we created a platform called AccuDocs. And so I still am a Thai to English translator, but now running this wonderful startup that is making migration faster and easier and, better for everyone in the process. Thank you.
Awesome. And again, you've been in a few different roles, and so you can kind of relate to the stress of those types of roles in localization. I mean, and one of the things is, pretty much everybody in the industry has to spend a lot of time in front of the computer, in front of devices. And at the end of the day, maybe it's hard to say, okay, I'm done working. Now I got to go exercise. But let's talk a bit of it. Rutsuko, maybe you can tell a little bit about some of the activities that you do, including, I think you lead a running group in Seattle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, this happened right before pandemic. So it's not that long ago that I start running. I used to hate it so much that I never thought I gonna run. But, that has changed since the pre-pandemic that I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something that I'm not good at. Like, my mom was a runner and, she was a sprinter. She wasn't a long distance, but if she can run, I can do it. So I wanted to start something. So I did. And, I found this group. It's, in Seattle based and Green Lake Running Group. This has now over 10,000 people members. Wow. And, it has grown so much. And first I was really intimidated because first I can't run fast and two, I cannot go distance. And three, I had nobody I knew. So I was really intimidated, but like I wanted to run with somebody and then start, enjoying having a conversation. Mm-hmm. So I would go spy on them at the Green Lake, like looking at them from the bushes and like how far they are going or how fast they are running. And after doing that for multiple times, I start running with them. I showed up on one of the Saturday morning, 7:00 in the morning. They'll go for like a lake mile, like 3 mile or 5 mile, or they have a different route. So I start joining that, and then I started making friends. And after a couple years, during the pandemic, I made really like lifetime long friends. And one of the friend who offered me to be a leadership teams for these running groups to lead the community group run, which is on Wednesday. And I'm in charge of leading this community group runs every Wednesday at 5:30 a.m.
Wow.
Starts at the Green Lake Starbucks. Yes. And we do usually a 6 mile around the neighborhood, or there is also a 3 mile options for people who wants to just stick around the lake, which is very flat, or people who are, marathon training or ultra trail training. Then they can go for 10 miles or 11 miles or whatever they want. But anyway, I've been doing this for past 5 years. 4 years almost. And I love it so much.
So that's an awesome story. And I like it for several reasons. One is, it's really hard, especially as you get older, to pick up a new sport and try something completely new. And you even said, like, I didn't think I could be a good runner. I just like, that's not, it's nothing I've done in the past. And I hate it because running, when I see people running, nobody has a smile on their face. I mean, everybody's like, oh, but the other thing I like about it is you stuck with it. And now, it's kind of crazy. You're getting up at 5:30 in the morning, which means you probably have to get up at like 4:45 or 5 o'clock to get there on time. So I commend you for your commitment. Let me ask you this. When you run in the morning, how do you feel throughout the rest of your day or the next 2 days versus when you skip the run?
Oh my gosh. It's inevitable that if I run, bus is not run, or if I do any other exercise, I also do yoga or strength training too. But my husband always can tell me, when I get my run done, I'm less spicy, rest of the day. And I feel so much better. I have more energy. I have more smile. I can be nicer to myself or to any other people too. So it's a great, things to do. I love to do it first things in the morning.
I think
awesome.
You could say perhaps most people in our industry are inherently workaholics as well. And when a big project comes in, you'll tie yourself to that project for however many hours it takes. And, I've had a history of working all through the night or working nonstop. And my family can tell, Dylan, have you been for a run yet? It's like, I haven't ran for like 3 days. That's why I feel so down. You just get out. It can take half an hour or just a quick run or something like that. And it really improves your whole well-being and psychological state.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% agree with you there. It is hard though sometimes to, especially in the middle of winter, because we're in the winter. I showed you the snow here. To God, get out of bed and it's cold and dark and maybe rainy, maybe snowy, whatever. But it's that, I read a book called Atomic Habits, and he said, don't think about the end like I'm going to go for the run. Think about what you got to do first. First is you got to get out of bed. Next, you have to put your shoes on. And once you start doing that, you get on that routine, the process, and then everything takes care of itself. So I don't know if that helps you or if you do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But also like being accountable for each other, that accountability is a huge thing. It is about making a little habit and making sure that you do it successfully, but also knowing that somebody is waiting there for you or somebody that is looking forward to wake up with you to have a conversation or to just even run like a mile or two. It's a huge, a commitment. And just keep doing that. Sometimes member changes. Some people are on business trip or some people are sick or whatever, but we always have each other, and being in this like community or being in this bubble, it's a great benefit and a great asset.
That's a really good point. And I look back, I was a runner in high school, and then I kind of strayed down the wrong path, put on some weight, didn't run. And I started in 2006 to run again. And just going around the block was painful. It was so hard. But one of my son's soccer coaches, he saw me running. I would call it slow jogging at the time, but he said, "Hey, we should train together." And then we'd run together. And then we planned out we were going to do a half marathon like 5 months from now. And he put us on a routine, and it was three days a week. We'd meet 2 short runs during the week and 1 progressively longer one. And what I found was, okay, I got better at running, and I showed up because I had the accountability partner there, but also the conversation was also very therapeutic as well, because I wouldn't be thinking about the pain of the run. I'd be talking, and he happened to be a very good conversationalist. And it was just like, and then we worked up to, at one point we got I think our longest training run was 11 miles, but we were talking the whole time. And it was oh man, it was so therapeutic and so nice. So, good points. Dylan, you're running a startup, man, and both of you guys have families too, right? So it's not like you just go quit work and say, okay, now I'm free. No, you have family commitments as well. Dylan, I think you have 3 children, right? 3 beautiful little girls.
That's right.
Yeah, and so how do you make sure that you put the time in, and what happens when you don't, and how do you self-correct?
Well, easy, mate. The secret is bring them along. So now, my youngest just turned 5, and so we had one of those high-tech running prams that my 2 middle children had used. We'd had it for nearly 10 years. Sold it on Facebook Marketplace for just about as much as I bought it for, because it's in high demand. Yeah. So, before joining this call today, I went out on a 5-kilometer run. And my youngest 5-year-old jumped on her bike and running along with the poodle. Man, there's no better training partner than a little competitive child on a bicycle. If you have to try and run and keep up with her, that definitely lifts up the pace. When you were talking about the conversation while running, I like to say, insert your pseudo intellectual vibe. I feel like I've learnt so much while running. Okay. And, it's nothing about, my physiological state or anything like that, but simply because you can put in earphones and listen to audiobooks. And so, if you're out 2 hours running 3 or 4 days a week, you can go through a lot of material, listening to the latest materials or podcast memoQ talks. There's so much stuff to learn while running.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Last year I was in Europe for January, February, March, half of April, and I was walking every day. I would take a midday break and I would walk anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. And I went through massive amounts of audiobooks. I did the Count of Monte Cristo, which is 1,400 pages in the book, and I think the audiobook is like 56 hours, and I went through it twice, man. So
Yes.
But no, you're right. But for people, and that actually that just brings up a point, because people hear us talking about running, but there are other alternatives. For example, the walking. I noticed my steps when I was in Europe for the first 3 months of the year last year. I was averaging about 11 to 12,000, sometimes 13,000 steps a day, and then I got back here in the US, and I dropped down to like 3,000 to 4,000 a day, which is, it is. So let me ask you, either one of you, besides running, what else can you do to add a little fresher upper into your day?
I started off cycling. Let's say going back a few years when I hit around 30 years old, I'd been a freelancer, working online for 4 or 5 years already. And, when you're in the 20s, you don't have to do too much to stay in shape. And I hit 30 and started seeing a little bit of a bulge in the front in front, and thought, okay, I've got to start exercising. So I started running, and I got this quite sore knees. And looked into it a bit more. It was a form of iliotibial band, ITB syndrome, they call it. And so instead of running, I started cycling, and just as like what you were saying about the group accountability, joined a club and did some incredible rides around Thailand and in Australia. Now, I do keep that up, but when you're short of time, I feel running, you can burn a lot more in a shorter space of time. Cycling is good. I've had a few falls, so it is dangerous, but I've injured myself running as well. So just with all of these activities, it's good to stay safe. I do do a bit of swimming as well, but I'm avoiding being labeled as a triathlete as much as I can, because I don't have the time to train.
That is, I mean, if you're going to pick an event like that and you got to do all three sports, it's tough. Rutsuko, what do you do when you travel to stay on the routine? Because for me, that's the hardest time. I started hanging out with people like Dylan, and then maybe have one too many beverages, and then but I got to get up in the morning and do the run, which sometimes I'm able to do, but sometimes and then plus you have company meetings and dinners and stuff like that. What do you both do? Let's start with you, Rutsuko. When you're traveling, how do you stay on point?
Running for sure, or walking.
Okay.
I mean, running and walking are the best way to see the city. Really, when you're on the foot, especially like Europe or Asia, where streets are so much smaller and car can get in. It's the best. Like I had a best running in Spain or Czech or London. Oh my gosh, it's so perfect. It's like, I wonder why people love running now. Like I used to hate it, but now I totally understand. It's the best. It's like you can just bring your shoes and clothes and you can do it anywhere you want. You don't need a fancy treadmill, like you can travel anywhere and see it. So that's my way. But I also like to check it out the gym if that's something that is available. Like I have taken yoga class in Spanish, which I don't speak Spanish or I don't even understand, but I wanted to experience doing yoga in different language. So when I went down to Argentina, I actually took one of the yoga class there, and it was fun.
That's awesome. Brings up another point. So I've taken yoga classes in Japanese, and I had no idea what they were saying, but I just kind of cheat and look at everybody else.
Yeah, right.
But I stretch every Monday through Friday. It's part of my morning routine. I'll do a couple yoga poses or what they're called routines or something, like the sunrise salutation and things like that. And if I don't do it, if I skip it more than 2 or 3 days, my back, everything starts to seize up, and it's no good. So I have to do it, and it's really important. Dylan, are you a stretcher?
I have an embarrassing secret, Mark. My
just
eldest,
one, Dylan, just one embarrassing secret. Come on, I know there's more.
my eldest is 13, and she's quite a talented ballet dancer. And to encourage her to do stretching in the morning, well, I started doing ballet stretches with her.
That's
and
awesome.
So it is a challenge, and she has a good laugh. But it does. Yeah, it is definitely worthwhile to do. And while traveling, like you asked, it's very easy to just chuck in a pair of shoes. and running pants and shirt. It's very easy to go along and find somewhere to run. Now, I had a similar experience going to the SlaterCon in Zurich. And I thought, okay, I woke up, normally go for a 5:30 a.m. run here in Australia. 5:30, wake up in Zurich's pitch black. This is in, November last year? And so, okay, wait around, looked at on my Apple Watch. Oh, sunrise is like 7:30 or something. That's unusual. Get out at 20 past 7. It's still a bit dark and, trying to run with a pair of sunglasses on my head. It wasn't working. So I just put them on and, tried to follow the path. What I'm used to here in Australia is when there are steps or anything, we're very, hyper vigilant about pedestrian safety, and there will be reflective lines or things for the blind people to feel with their walking sticks. Nothing in Zurich. So lo and behold, I'm running along on a kind of dark pathway and crossing over where a tram truck is, and it was actually a long step down between the tram station and the footpath. And I ended up twisting my ankle. And for the next 3 weeks, I couldn't do any more running. So yeah, like I said a bit earlier, you've got to really try to be safe, especially when running in unfamiliar areas.
I totally agree. Next time you're in Zurich, have Florian take you for a run. He's a runner, and he has some great trails that go up right from Zurich, but it goes up into these wooded like neighborhoods, and you can't believe that you're in Zurich. It's just, it's so cool. And the other thing is, because I used to work for CLS, right? And so I'd go to Zurich 3 or 4 times a year. They have these free rental bikes, and they're just big clunky bikes, right? And they've got like some kind of advertisement on the back, so you feel kind of like a nerd, but it's free. And I took one all the way around Lake Zurich, but the weather, it was summertime, so that's something worth checking out as well. So what else do you guys do? Rutsuko, you mentioned you do some strength training.
Yeah, I do. So first I took actually yoga training 12 years ago. So I'm also a certified yoga teacher as well too. But so I used to do yoga all the time before running actually kicks in. And I used to be like, flexible and I can do run. But then once I start running, I start like kind of getting injury, like too much pounding on a concrete or doing too much of, speed work, or maybe just the age. I don't know, but I was like, why is my hips hurting? Or why is my knees not right? Or why is my, like whatever. So I was like, okay, maybe I should, start really working on more like actually heavy weight, which also I was very intimidated before. I didn't like to go to gym, and those, big buff muscle guys are like lifting and then go boom. And like that, it was just like, okay, sure, very impressive, but I can do that. So I started going to the gym and then started lifting some weights, and it's kind of fun. Like when you see it in your body, or you start seeing a definition first on your like, little biceps, or, you can actually start feeling it in your body. When I run, like I can feel that, okay, my hips are more stable, or I feel stronger on your legs, or my knee doesn't hurt so much when I'm going downhill for super long time or stuff like that. It's very important to protect our, body, and also prevent from, I don't like to be on sideline, so, yeah. So I really highly recommend strength training.
It's funny because, so I have done a lot of strength training. We just got rid of our weight set because my kids moved out, but it's something I'm quite familiar with. And strength is always an asset. It always helps you for injury prevention, but also as we get older, especially for women, it helps with bone density. And it's a really preventative for like things like osteoporosis and things like that. So hugely important.
I was just going to add, this is my my current training partner, Willow. She's a standard poodle, and when looking for a dog, there are only a handful of breeds that are good at running long distance. So I've done a couple of marathons and regularly run over 20 kilometers at a time, so 12 12 miles or more at a time. And standard poodles are actually a breed that can last a distance. They can go over a marathon length distance running. And she's, awesome. she definitely keeps me up. Regarding strength training as well, Mark, I was wanting to ask about your experience, Thai boxing. So you've done some training in that before, I believe.
Yeah, I think we had a little training session one time.
Wow, I had no idea you did Thai boxing. Wow.
So I trained at Thammasat University in Bangkok for a few months. The first time I was in Thailand, I was really blessed. I met a guy who was an ex-Thai boxer, and I expressed an interest. He introduced me to an instructor, and I did that. And then off and on, back here, I've dabbled in, things like karate, traditional karate, full contact karate, judo, a little bit of BJJ, and here, I mean, everybody's got a kickboxing gym these days. It's not all the same, some of it's more serious. Most places are like, it's more geared towards exercise versus the fighting, but still it's a good workout and it's fun. How about Dylan? I forget how much you trained.
No, only just with, friends growing up in Thailand. You learn a few of the moves, but you mentioned Thammasat University. That was, a university that I studied at in Thailand, for a period. Yeah. Studied modern Thai prose. In fact, it was a good place to learn. But, the strength training as well. I go to the gym 5 days a week, just to avoid
5 days a week. Oh my gosh. And you have a 3 kids.
Dylan doesn't sleep. He works, he takes care of the kids, and he exercises.
My wife works in the city, so I work at home. So I've got the duties to pick up 3 girls from school. And so I've scheduled in a period before the school time pickup, so I can get my car there. Otherwise, there's no parks in front of the school. I can work out at the gym for 45 minutes and put the kids straight in the car. It's great. It serves everyone. But awesome. Yeah, doing the strength training, but mostly to avoid injuries. Like I've said, I've done Achilles heel. I've broken metatarsals, which is the long bones in your feet. I did skateboard for many years. We do hiking. I mentioned swimming, but I'm not such a great swimmer, but keep it up. Apart from
it's all good. Let me ask you this. Do you use either one of you, do you use any apps like Strava or any other apps to track your progress? Rutsuko?
Yeah. I used to have a Strava and I don't like it that people can follow. So I stopped using it. But I use Garmin apps a lot. Yeah, I like that. Or when I'm training, I use like a Training Peaks. Yeah.
So I have Strava. Strava's great, and I like the social connection on Strava where you can follow your friends and see how much people are doing as well. But for running particularly, there's a new device called Stride, and it's a STRYD. It is a power meter for your running shoes. So if anyone's familiar with cycling and using a power meter, there are actually power meters for running shoes, and it's a little pod that connects to your shoelaces. And what surprised me most is the parallels between the effort you're putting out on a bike and running. It kind of matches. So I know what my functional threshold power is while cycling, and it matches when I'm running as well. So I can do that same effort prolonged for an hour or more. Yeah.
You don't use the watch to integrate that? You do too?
With the Apple Watch, yeah. So they connect with the Apple Watch.
Got it. Oh, never heard of it.
I'm going to check that out. My experience with Strava is like, I got serious into mountain biking a few years ago and started training for some very long cross country type events. And it really helped keep me motivated because I could track, as you said, you can see, the people, your friends and what they're doing. And then you put up a ride and then they're like, hey, like, this is great. Oh man, you're crazy. That's like really long. But then the other thing is, you can see, you get segments, and you can see what is your personal best. The problem I have with it is when I want to go out and do like a zone 2 kind of run or ride, but I also want to beat my Strava time. Those kind of goals kind of conflict with each other, because sometimes you should just go out and do a quote unquote zone 2 kind of run or ride, right? Where you're just chilling. But Strava, for me, because I'm kind of type A and super dumb competitive, like, I gotta get that record, man. I gotta get it.
I want to say that like a Strava is really cool. Like I like it that people can follow. However, the point I didn't like is that people can tell you where you are running and where you live, because as a woman, I don't want people to know where I start at 5:30 in the morning every day. Like I don't want to just put in that situation, right? So that's why I kind of like, no, that's not gonna work.
I can totally see that. I mean, because anybody who's followed me, you can see where most of my runs and rides start, and then that's where I live, and so.
You can set the privacy radius, but I mean, they would get the general area that you're going, I'm sure.
Right. Like when traveling, you can tell which hotel you're staying, that type of things.
What about, diet, hydration, rest? How important are those for you as well? Because again, you're trying to reach this balance. So I'm like, I got to work. I got to spend time with my family. I got to get the exercise in, but I also got to get my sleep. So like Dylan, like what are your targets, or how do you manage that? And how does it affect you the next day? Or
I've been celiac, like gluten-free all my life. And so, I mean, that is something, diet is just second nature to me. I have to watch my diet naturally. Maybe that contributes to my fitness, by having to watch and be aware of everything I'm eating anyway. But I have a liquid breakfast, have, let's say, protein and banana and, as a shake, and have a really big lunch. Normally have an afternoon nap because I'm up since 3:30 every morning, and have a decent balanced meal for dinner. But I should state that the caveat is I have a wonderful Thai wife who cooks Thai food for me every day. So we live on a rice diet, which is mostly Thai food.
Awesome. Rutsuko, how about you? How do you manage that?
I don't eat very heavy. My dinner is always usually very early. Like it's because like my daughter also has like a practice that like she needs to have her dinner earlier so than usual. Like so we usually have dinner like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then I'm done like for the rest of the night. Unless we have like some events going on. It's because like I want to make sure that my food are digested before I hit the road on next morning, like 5:30 in the morning too. And I do eat a lot like vegetables and fish. Since I'm Japanese, I love sushi and stuff, but I do have to watch my intake for like alcohol and stuff like that. Like before, like I have like, for example, I have a big run coming up, and then I need to run for like, 13, 15 miles. Then of course, like I want to make sure that I'm well hydrated. More than I eat, I need to hydrate. So I found out that I'm actually a salty sweater, which means that when I sweat salt. So I need to take really extra salt before I do any like hard exercise. So I take more salt than, like actually food. I need to like focus on that rather than like putting some carbs in my body. So really like pay more attention to how much I drink and how I hydrate it and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm a salty sweater too, to the point where if I'm doing a really long run, like a couple years ago, I did an ultra trail run around here, and one of the issues I get is chafing because of the salt in my sweat, and it was really important to kind of have a strategy for that. One, to keep ingesting salt, but also to get the salt off my skin because it gets painful.
It is. Yeah.
The other thing is. On a good day, most days, Monday through Friday, I have a morning routine. And part of my morning routine is to get 5 to 6 cups of water right at the beginning of the day, in between my exercising and stretches. And literally, like, people are like, oh my God, it sounds like morning routine. It literally takes me 10, 15 minutes to get through my basic exercises and stretches. And then I've got 5 or 6 cups of water. What I notice is if I get enough water, I almost feel like I get like a boost, there we go, right? I can, because I mean, it's proven that our muscles, but also our brain, I mean, we're mostly water. And if you're dehydrated, nothing's going to be working that, but people overlook it. And the problem is a lot of people, and I'm not pointing fingers because I'm just like that, will start the morning off with either tea or coffee, which is a diuretic, which is awesome. I mean, I love coffee, but if you start off with coffee before you've hydrated it all, everything that you drink is just going to go right back out, right?
Yeah.
So for me, and then the last thing you said is I if I have my last food at 5:30 or 3, 4, 5 hours before I go to bed, I sleep so much better, much better. But you eat a late meal, like we talk about when you're traveling, you eat like a business dinner and you finish at 9 or something like that. Good luck sleeping, especially if you're jet lagged at all.
I found that interesting as well, because our family have always had dinner 5:36 and never realized that other people might eat it a lot later until we started going to, let's say, restaurants and arrive at 5:30. You're always the first person. Right? It's quite but maybe that does contribute to staying fit and healthy as well. I hadn't never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's also lifestyle too. Like I have some people in my running groups that, hey, do you want to go for a run at 8? And I was like, you're talking about AM, right? And he go, no, PM. I'm like, no way. I'm in PJ. Like, so it's like, but like he's so fit and he's like super happy runner, but he just likes to lie in the night after everything is done, So it's kind of like, so he goes and run and then he takes shower and just go to bed. So some people like just function different than the lifestyle.
Or even the midday runs as well. I think the point of the matter is that if you can really find it anytime during the day where, if it suits you, then that is the best time to go for a run or go for a ride or do something active that gets the blood flowing to your brain, to your muscles, and keeps you fit and energized. I think that is the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my friends said, like, it doesn't really matter what exercise you do, just do the exercise that you enjoy because you will do it more often, right? And if you don't like it, you got kind of an inherent battle that you've got to fight there every day. Last couple of questions here. Do you have any? I mean, you have work goals, right? Do you have fitness goals? And if so, how does that work? And what can you share with us for the next 3, 6, 12 months that you're trying to do?
You want to go first, Dylan?
I have a bad
I think we should be laying down some challenges here, man.
Yeah.
I have a bad habit of signing up to marathons and then, not putting in enough training or hurting myself. So I'm just trying to keep it easy this next year or so. But at the end of March, I'm going to Boulder in Colorado, and I hear the trails are beautiful around there. So that's what I'm really looking forward to next. Like I said, running 50 kilometers a week, swimming at least 2 times a week, and going to the gym 5 days a week, and cycling as often as I can. That's my goal.
That's awesome, man. I'm just getting motivated here, man. This is like a locker room speech. It's like, Okay, Rutsuko, what can you share with us?
Yeah, so last year, 24, I ran 1,890 miles a year.
Wow.
And I want to reach 2,000 this year. So that's my goal.
2,000. So let me think about that. That's
3,000 kilometers. Wow, that's incredible.
So that's like
that's why I want to run. Yeah, I know.
190 miles a month. So still, that's like 50 miles a week, basically.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm putting I'm saying this so that I have you accountable. So
there we go. We're gonna replay this episode.
I need to prove it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, my goal is today is to go shovel snow, and that's going to be my exercise.
But keep hydrating.
And hydrating. Yeah. So, hey guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on memoQ Talks. You guys, good friends and great participants in the local industry. And when I talk to people like you guys, I get motivated, and I think there's that accountability piece, but there's also that like creating some kind of positive movement, and other people want to be a part of that. And I mean, your enthusiasm is infectious, I should say. So thanks so much for being on memoQ Talks, and look forward to seeing you both soon.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you. I was wanting to add, at all of the conferences we go to, there's always a running group who starts every morning. And come along. If you're joining one of the big conferences, come along to the running group. Even if you're not that experienced running, there's lots of nice people and various paces that you can join in on. So yeah, see you at the next conference.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be
Great
there.
idea. Awesome. Okay, guys. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you for joining memoQ Talks, where we talked with industry leaders about their experiences and lessons learned to gain new insights about what works best across all areas of localization. Join us next time on memoQ Talks.